Hey crazy friends, it's Jay with Find You Crazy. We are a family of 9 who live full-time in our RV with 5 of our kids as we go around the country to see every national park. Today, we're going to talk about one of those things that nobody likes talking about, and that's poop. What to do with your waste tanks when they're full and you don't have full hookups. Today, we're going to talk about the advantages of having a portable waste tank. So this video we are going to talk about portable waste tanks. So there's mine right behind me. So whatever you call this, your honey wagon, yesterday's Meals on Wheels, the poop hearse, or a lot of people call them Blue Boy. The reason it's called, some people call it a Blue Boy, is because Blue Boy is one of the most popular name brands, and so it's just kind of stuck for them overall. Mine is not a Blue Boy because it's not blue. You can see that it's a Camco, and we'll talk about why I chose that one in just a second. But a portable waste tank is a great option for you if you're wanting to do less full hookup camping. And let's be honest, that's something that we all kind of want to do some. For our family, specifically for 2 reasons. One, less hookup camping is often cheaper. And so if you only have water and power and don't have sewer, those campsites are usually cheaper, and so if you're full-timing, that's a big deal. But for us, another thing is it also just lets us get into some really beautiful places. We really love state parks, national parks, and specifically Army COEs, Corps of Engineer campgrounds, because they're usually beautiful. The campsites are more spacious, they're more wooded. We're here at one now that we just love, but you can't do that if you're not willing to forego sewer hookups, because most of them just don't have them. A lot of the COEs specifically are near lakes. A lot of the state campgrounds are just older, and so you're just not going to get full hookups. And so if you're not willing to sacrifice that, then you can't get into those beautiful places. But obviously we can't park there and not use water. And so you're going to fill up your tanks anyway while you're there. So then you got to figure out something to do with it. So obviously one option is just to hook up your camper every couple of days, go take it to the dump station, dump it, and bring it back. But who wants to deal with moving your entire camper all the time? So the workaround for that is a portable waste tank. What that allows you to do is dump off your tanks into that tote, and then hook it up to your truck, put it in the back of your truck, and then just drive it over to the dump station, dump it out, and then you're ready to go. For us specifically, we use ours almost primarily for our gray tank. We have 4 tanks, 2 gray, 2 black. So we have a front and back bathroom for our black tank, and then the kitchen sink for one gray tank, and then the shower for the other gray tank. And so our 2 black tanks, we can go really 4 or 5 days without filling both of those up. And so those a lot of times don't have to be dumped when we're staying at these places. But depending on how many dishes we're doing, that back gray tank fills up about every 3 days. And for us, with 7 people, sometimes 8 in the camper, one night of showers, we're toast on that front shower gray tank. And so we have to empty that thing almost every day. I mean, that's even when we're outside kind of rushing the kids through, and nobody wants to do that all the time. And so the portable waste tank allows us to be able to dump that off every day, and it only takes a few minutes. I don't have to hook up the whole camper, so it's a great option for you to be able to expand the places that you can camp. So in this video, we're going to talk about kind of everything about the portable waste tank. We're going to talk about the different styles, what to consider when you're buying one, how to store them, and how to use them. And so if you're not interested in all of those pieces, you can look down in the description, and I will timestamp each one of those topics so that you can jump straight to it if you need to. All right, so first let's talk about what to consider when you're trying to figure out which one to buy. Like I said, there are several different name brands. Once I did my research, we ended up going with the Camco Rhino version, just because it had the features that I wanted, really solid construction, and a name brand that I already trusted. Blue Boy is another great name brand, very trusted, but to be honest with you, theirs are literally all blue, and I just didn't want a giant blue tank hanging on the back of my camper all the time. So that was one of the things that made a really big choice in that. But Still a great name brand. And then at the end of the day, I mean, let's be honest, this isn't like a high-tech piece of machinery, and so they are very similar. But a couple things to consider when you're considering it. And really, the main choice that you're going to be making is size. How big of a tank do you need? And so here's what I'm going to say for that. You want to get as small as possible, and yet make sure that it's going to take care of the needs that you have. So there are 4 sizes, are 15, 21, 28, and 36 gallons. This is the largest. This is the 36 gallon. Now, the reason I say that you want to get the smallest that you possibly can is because of weight. You're going to have to maneuver this thing around once you get it full. Now, consider that a gallon of water weighs a little over 8 pounds. This 36-gallon tank, when it's full, weighs about 300 pounds. The tank itself is about 30 pounds. So you're talking about 330 pounds that you're having to deal with. And so, you know, if you're older or have some mobility issues or some strength issues, then obviously you can cut this in half, more than half, by getting the 15 gallon. You're just not going to be able to make as big of trips. But if you're not traveling around with a gigantic family like we are, that might not be as big a deal. Again, if there's just 2 of you in your camper, then you're probably going to be able to go a week or more with your black tank, and you won't have to empty off your gray tank but every couple of days, even with the 15 gallon. So that's why you want to get as small as you can, but then at the same time, you got to balance that with getting a size that's going to make sense for you. And for us, nothing made sense except for the 36 gallon. Like I said, even with us rushing kids through in the showers, really standing at the door like, all right, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. We do a little over 36 gallons in one night of showers. So a smaller one just made absolutely no sense for us. And so I just deal with the weight. A couple of things to consider with that is the 28 and the 36, the 2 largest ones, have these extra wheels. You can see those little wheels on the front on this bar, and those extra wheels really make a big difference. The 2 smaller ones just have the big back wheels, and then they have the big handle, and so you're having to pick this thing up to drag it around with all of that water in there. And so again, those extra wheels on the 2 smaller ones really make a big difference. And then you also, on the bigger ones, you get this bar that has that loop at the top, and that is for hanging it on the back of the hitch on the back of your truck. So then you're not having to pick this thing up and drag it around. You just click it onto the back of your hitch, and then you pull it off with your truck. And that made a really big difference for me. So that's why, even I think no matter what was going on, I probably would not have gone below the 28 gallon, even if I wasn't going to fill it up all the way. Just the difference in the convenience of this and pulling it around would really make a big difference. And so, if I was giving advice, I would say, unless you just really know that you can handle it, the 28 is the lowest one that comes with that handle and extra wheels. And if you're worried about the weight, then don't fill it up all the way. Just fill it up halfway. Then you're only at like 14 gallons, which is less than the small one anyway, so weight-wise, but then you get the extra convenience of having the pull stick as well as those extra wheels. So those are the things that you really want to consider when you're trying to decide which of those sizes that you want. All right, so next let's talk about storage and transportation. Obviously, you're not going to be using this thing all the time, and when you go from campsite to campsite, you're going to need to put it somewhere. And when you're at a full hookup campsite, you're not going to need it at all. And so, a lot of the times, this thing spends more time in storage than it does in use. You really have a couple of options, I guess 3 options for how to store this thing. So the first one is, if you have one of the smaller ones, then it might be that you can just pick it up and put it in the bed of your truck. If you've got a bumper pull and you've got a covered bed, then that might be a place that you can just stick it up in there. Even if you have a 5th wheel up towards the front of your truck, might be a place that you could just throw it in there. But that's kind of annoying, because then it's really in the way all the time, especially when you're unhooked and traveling around, and then you're having to pick the thing up in and out of there all the time. The second place is that you can attach it to your bumper on the back of your camper. So I've seen several people that use the little hitch platform that goes in and makes a platform. A lot of people put their coolers and stuff back there. I've seen several people that have put one of those on and put this there, and that's a really nice thing because it's really low to the ground, so you're not having to pick it up very far to put it on there, and then you can just strap it down and you're good to go. We unfortunately have all of these bikes because we have all these kids, and so our hitch was already taken with the bikes. The other place that you can put it on your bumper is Camco actually makes a bumper kit. And so it's some straps and bars that hook onto your bumper and come up from the side. And so then it sits just like this up and down on your bumper, and those bars hold it in place. Then you can just strap it there. That is a really, really great option as well. Again, number one, because you're not having to lift it up as high. It's right there on your bumper. For us, unfortunately, because we full-time and more often than not with maintenance things, I have found that I wanted a ladder. We carry a ladder and it lays across my back bumper. And so that's why I can't do that, or that is absolutely the option that I would pick. It would definitely be worth buying that kit to do that. So if you don't have anything on your bumper, that's the one that I would recommend. The last one is the one that we use just out of necessity because all of our other options are gone, and that's to hang it on your ladder. So it comes with this little bar that hook, so to speak, that's on there, and that hangs on the rung of your ladder. And I'll show you how to I'll put it on in just a second. A couple of cons with putting it on the ladder, though. So number one, it's heavy and you have to lift it up really high. So obviously there are lower rungs on your ladder, but legally you can't have anything blocking that blinker and tail light. And so that means mine has to go on the next to the top rung. And again, even empty, this thing weighs like 36 to 40 pounds, somewhere in that range. And so I'm having to lift it up, rung it up, and then strapping it down so that it doesn't bounce off. So that's fine once you get it on there. The other negative about that is that then it's blocking your ladder. And so if something's up on the roof and I want to get up and look at my roof, sweep off slides, any of those things that were on our roof for a pretty good bit, I've got this tank in the way. And so I either have to take it down to climb up and down, or try to climb around it, which I've done in a couple of like quick emergency type things, and that's just a little precarious. Or sometimes I'll just get the ladder off and set it up and climb up the ladder beside the ladder because it's easier than taking this thing on and off because it's kind of a pain. And so that's why, again, if I had the option, I would definitely put it on my bumper. All right, so let's load this thing up. The first thing you do is just drive it right up under the ladder, and then just pick it up and get it on that first rung. Now, the other thing that I'll say about this that is another thing I don't like about it necessarily, so this metal bracket that goes on there, it screws onto this big plate on the back, and so this is a really secure point, but this bracket itself, we've had this about a year and a half, and you know, we full-time driving it all over the country all the time, bouncing up and down back here. But in that time, you can actually see the angle on this thing is a little bit up instead of flat like it was to start with, and one of the welds on the side is actually starting to crack, and so I'm going to be ordering a new one of those before too long. So, you know, that's one thing that I don't like about it is the weight of it, and the bouncing eventually requires that be replaced. So again, another reason that I put it on the bumper if I could. But once you've got it on that first one, it's just a matter of walking it up one at a time until it gets up to the top. So you can see that's kind of a pain to get it up high enough to clear that light. And so again, one more time, put it on your bumper if you can. Once it's on there, I use a ratchet strap to secure it down, and I do it across the wheels and pull it down across this bar so that there's some downward pressure, not just keeping it from bouncing in and out, but downward pressure to keep it from hopping off when we're going down the road. Under there, over the wheels, back under there. And then this ratchet strap goes through there, and it'll pull actually to the other side. Like so. All right, then I have all this extra length. Obviously, you could cut that off, but don't, because you also want to secure this thing because it bounces around like crazy. And so then what I do is take it and go through there and around one more time. And then tie it, pull it tight over to the side, like so. Now it's secure, it's not pulling on and off, it's not going up at all, and this thing is not going anywhere. Tighten that up a little bit more, but you get the idea. And then I put one final bungee cord on the back, and let me show you where I put that. So I clip it onto that bracket and then stretch it out down to the pole. Again, just one more, secondary, just a backup security thing, if you will. Probably doesn't need it with the ratchet strap, but it makes me feel better. All right, so now let's talk about operation. We'll walk through filling it and dumping it, but first let's take a look at all of the pieces and places, so to speak, so you know what you're looking at. So on the unit itself, you basically have two places to attach the hose. So this top place is a male bracket that is where you're going to fill it. So this is where you're going to connect your hose coming out of your camper when you're filling it. This one, also male, is where you're going to connect the hose when you're going to dump it. And it has a valve there so that you can take that off, put your hose on, and then open it up to dump it out. Then on top, there are two other places up here. One is a little vent that breaks the suction so that you can fill it and dump it. And then the other is a place to hook up a hose so that you can hook a hose up and rinse it out. I honestly don't really use that much. I just stick the hose, down in there and spray it around, slosh it around, and then I'm good. Part of that is also just because we full-time, so we're using this thing, at least 1 week out of every month. And so, I don't have to deep clean it because it's not going to be sitting around for, months at a time while it's waiting on me to come back around to it. In addition to the unit, it comes with two other pieces. So this is a female to female elbow that you're going to put on here so that you can connect the male end of the hose to the male end of this, because it's male to male, so you need an adapter. But then the elbow also lets you see down in there. And then it comes with this short hose, which is great because you don't need the big long lengths that you have for the rest of your sewer hookups. You can just use that shorter length to fill it and to dump it. So let's get to work. Sorry about the sun and the loud birds. I've asked them to be quiet twice, and they're just not listening for some reason. So let's go about filling this from our gray tank. So the other thing that doesn't come, but obviously is always a must, is a pair of gloves. Anytime you're working with your sewer, you want to have a pair of gloves, either disposable if you just want to throw them out one at a time, or I like these because they don't tear, and so they get stinky after a little while on the inside, but you just spray a little Lysol down in there and it clears that up. But so gloves obviously are a must. The other thing that doesn't come with this, but that I would highly suggest, really convenient, is putting a secondary waste valve pull here at the very end of your unit. So here at the end of my pipe, normally my pulls are right up over in my basement, but obviously they control a valve that's right next to the tank. And so that leaves about 5 feet of pipe between where the valve is and here. And so it just leaves you with a little less control. So having it right here, if something goes wrong, you got one you can close right there, and then you don't have 5 feet of water that you have to deal with. So the first thing that you're going to do is take off the cap and put your elbow on. And then you're ready to attach this hose to there, and then to your pipe. All right, then I'm going to pull this valve. So it's open, and so now I'm going to go pull the valve for the gray tank. Now, notice that there's not really anything coming out. Now, why is that? All my valves are open, everything's set. That is the suction on the container. Remember this little valve that I told you about in the front that is basically an air valve that keeps the pressure inside, and so the water can't really get in there. But if I take this off, notice as soon as I take it off, now we're really flowing. Now here is the tricky part to filling these things. Knowing when they're full. There's not a great way to do that. There's no clear place on here where you can see. You can see down through this in there, but you can see because of the temperature of the water, this always fogs up. And so really the only way that you have is to kind of pause it and look. You will get a feel of where that's at, but let me suggest that you always stop before you think you're there. Because once this is full, there's no way to send the water that's already in the pipes back up into it. So I would also suggest experimenting your first several times with gray water and not black water. I'm pretty confident in knowing, because we've done it so long, I know kind of how many showers fill up a tank. And so I knew that I didn't have any concern with this overfilling, because like I said, one night of showers for us rushing everybody through is usually under this tank volume, and so you can see it's already slowed down for me. But those first couple of times, I would really suggest letting some in, closing that valve, even if you have to take this off to look down in to see about where you're at. They do make a bobber, I'll call it, that goes in this air valve, Camco does, that slides down in there, and it's got a bobber, and so it'll tell you when it's getting full. I haven't gotten one of those because I've heard from several friends that they don't work well. They get clogged up a lot. Maybe they've made changes to them, and it would be something that would be worth looking into if you're really concerned about that. But again, the best thing to do is just do it slow the first couple of times. Actually, because of the beauty of video editing, let me interrupt myself right here and give you a really good suggestion on this. The first time that I got my tank, if I was you, what I would do is I would experiment with it at a full hookup campground. So go to your campground that has a full hookup, get your tank out, go ahead and connect the little hose to your sewer pipe just like we did, But then take your regular sewer hose and connect to the exit valve that's there on the side and go ahead and run it into your sewer pipe, and then leave that side closed. Then what you can do is you can experiment with filling it, and you don't have to worry about a mistake, because if you accidentally overfill it or something happens, just open up that side and dump it straight into the ground where you normally would. Close it back off, wait a couple days, try it again. It'll give you that opportunity to really get that feel without risking having an issue, because the stories of people having issues with these in their first couple of times is legendary. Because again, let me warn you, once this tank is full, you got nothing to do with all that. That's why this valve is important, because you can close it and you just have the hoses worth, but you still got that hose worth. And if you're dealing with black tank, nobody wants a poopsie on their hands, right? So once it's full, then I just take the hose and kind of drop it down low to let it fill up, and then raise it back up to dump it down in there, just to kind of bleed the hose off, milk it back off until I'm absolutely full. And then I'll go close the gray tank and unhook everything. All right, so now hooking it up to the truck. All you need is a ball hitch on the back of your truck. You know, we have a fifth wheel, so I don't need a ball hitch. I got one specifically for toting this thing around. And again, this is where the 28 and the 36 really shine, because all you do is drop it over that and you're ready to pull it out. Now, I will say for me, I wanted a little bit of secondary insulation, that this thing's not just going to hop off. There's no locking mechanism to it. And so I use that same strap that I use as a secondary strap in the back, and I just hook it on here, wrap it around. You know, doesn't have to be super, super tight or strong. It's really just keeping this from jumping off as we're bouncing over to the place. So let's good enough this thing out. All right, so to dump it is no different than dumping your camper at the dump station. You're just going to hook everything up. You're going to need that short hose that they send with you again, and then just your regular sewer pipe connection for the end of your sewer hoses. You want to spin it around so that the valve, the waste valve, dump valve at the bottom is facing in, and then just connect everything up. Before you take this cover off, make sure that your valve is all the way down. Okay, then you can just lift the valve and dump it out. Once you've lifted it up, you can either unscrew that vent at the end, or I usually just pull this cap off because it's quicker, easier, and it lets more air in, so it goes faster. Once you're done, I give it a little tilt to make sure everything's out. That's it, we're done. Close your valve back, lead your hose off. Now, if you are not going to be using it for a long time and you really want to get it completely emptied out, you can spin it around and connect your hose here to this bottom one. It's actually a little bit lower, and then you just stand it up. And if you heard, there was just a little bit of water, if you heard, that came back out again. But again, I don't really do that often because we use ours so much. And then you're just going to unhook everything and put it back up. That's it for another how-to video here on Find Your Crazy. Everything, hopefully, that you need to know about portable waste totes. If you've got any questions, comments, or snide remarks, you can leave those down in the comments, or if I've grossly omitted some pertinent information, which is always a possibility, help the rest of the viewers out and leave that down there for them as well, so we can be a great community here together. Hopefully this helps you on making a decision on whether to buy a waste tank, which one to buy, and then what to do with it once you have it. Until next time, guys, we hope you'll like this video if it was helpful. We'd love for you to subscribe and check out all of our crazy adventures. So until next time, go out and have some crazy fun with your crazy family. See you guys.